refuses to surrender. They live in every chant for freedom. They live in every step we take on these streets. This generation is not looking backward. They reject the Shah. They reject the Sheikh. They reject every form of dictatorship, past or present. They want a democratic republic based on the will of the people. They want a future where no child grows up under the shadow of executions. They want a country where women are equal, where religion and state are separate, where no one is jailed for speaking the truth, and where Iran stands proud, peaceful, and free. And that is why so many young Iranians support the vision of Maryam Rajavi and her 10-point plan, a roadmap for a free Iran built on democracy, gender equality, ethnic equality, the abolition of the death penalty, and a non-nuclear future. Today we stand with them. Today we stand with them. We stand with the resistance units who confront the IRGC every single day. We stand with the mothers who bury their children and still raise their voices. We stand with the youth who risk their lives so Iran can live again. Now, please rise as we honor Iran with the national anthem, Ey Iran.
ای ایران ای مرز پرگوهر ای خاکت سرچشمه هنر دور از تو اندیشه بدان پاینده مانی تو جاودان ای دشمن ار تو سنگ خاره ای منو دارد این جان ما پاینده باد خاک ایران ما ایران ای خرم بهشت من روشن است و سرنوشت من گر آتش بارد به پیکرم جز مهرت در دل نپرورم با آب و خاک و مهر تو سرشته شد گلم مهر اگر برون رود توهی شود دلم مهر تو چون شد پیشم دور از تو نیست اندیشم در راه تو کی ارزشی دارد این جان ما پاینده باد خاک ایران ما
As we watch this next clip, remember that every image represents courage. The courage of those who stood up to tyranny and paid the ultimate price. This is the story of Masoud Rajavi, a symbol of resistance and hope.
من آمدم خودم رو و نسلم رو و سازمانم رو فدا بکنم برای رهایی مردم ایران. هزارها بار قلبم رو سوراخ کردند، هزارها بار طناب به گردنم انداختند، هزارها بار بر بدنم شلاق زدند. من مجاهد خلقم، آمدم خودم رو فدیه رهایی خلق در زنجیرم بکنم. آی مردم ایران، من انصاری الله. چه کسی من مجاهد خلق رو در مسیر خدا و خلق نصرت خواهد کرد؟ نصرت و حمایت برای چی؟ برای صلح، برای آزادی، برای حاکمیت مردمی. بله من مجاهد خلقم و آمدم تا خلقم رو از تجارب تلخ گذشته پرهیز بدم، رها بکنم. هر چه میخواید بگید، هر چه میخواید به صورتم سیلی بزنید، در سینه‌ام سرب مذاب خالی کنید، مادرهای پیرم رو هم شهید بکنید، اطفال شیرخوارم رو بزنید و شکنجه بدید، زندان بکنید، سر ببرید، هر مارک و اتهامی هم میخواهید نثار کنید. به فرموده مولایم علی کوه ها بجنبد، از جایم تکان نخواهم خورد.
شهیدانمان گنج اسیرانمان در تو گره میخورد رجوی قهرمان. شهیدان جان گنج اسیرانمان در تو گره میخورد ایستاده ایم تا پایان. پیام جان جانان استقامت تا پایان. پیام جان جانان حاضر حاضر تا پایان.
Hello جوانان را ببین بر چوبه های دار، غم درد و غم تاریک شده بر زندگی آباد، شده بر زندگی آباد. حالا برخیز و چون تندر مسلح کن سلاحت را، به کاموردان رزم آمد تو بشکن سد راحت را. حالا برخیز و چون تندر مسلح کن سلاحت را، به کاموردان رزم آمد تو بشکن سد راحت را. منم توفان به ترس بی نلرزیده، هماورد است حریفی سخت ورزیده. منم ایمان، منم استان پر از باور، که می جنگم که می مانم تواناتم، قسم خوردم که با خوندم ستمگر را براندازم، فلک را سر بشکافم به ترقیم رو دراندازم. منم توفان، منم اسیان، منم خیزش، منم فریاد، منم رگباری از آتش به سر تا پایت جلال. منم رگباری از آتش به سر تا پایت جلال. منم رگباری از آتش به سر تا پایت جلال. منم رگباری از آتش.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome Patrick J. Kennedy, former U.S. Congressman and a steadfast ally of the Iranian people's fight for freedom. A national leader in mental health policy and the founder of the Kennedy Forum, he has also emerged as a powerful voice for democratic change in Iran. Please welcome Congressman Patrick Kennedy.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see so many people out here in our nation's capital, which is a symbol of democracy all around the world. And how appropriate it is that we're here celebrating democracy in the longest democracy in the world and about to celebrate the future of democracy in a liberated Tehran. So it's an immense privilege for me to stand with you today for the Free Iran March here in Washington. It's a declaration. It's a declaration that you've not surrendered and that tyranny has not prevailed, and that the cause of freedom is alive, is organized, and is advancing. We are obviously in a moment of history shaped by people who refuse to bow and by a movement that refuses to abandon its ideals. Your message today is unmistakable. There is a democratic alternative to the religious fascism ruling Iran. Today also marks the 40th day since the execution of Commander Vahid Bani Amarian and Abu Hassan Monsar on April 4th, 2026. At the dawn of that Saturday, the regime hoped that they would bring silence to these two courageous members of PMOI-MEK who were hanged in Ghazel Hassar prison. Vahid was only 34 years old. He was an electrical engineer and a fearless leader of a resistance unit whose courage terrified the regime, which is armed with prisons and gallows. Abu Hassan was 67 years old, an architectural engineer and a veteran member of the MEK, representing another generation of sacrifice, having been a political prisoner under both the Shah and the current mullahs. And his life was a testament to the struggle that continues to this day. And alongside of them, many others But think about what this tells us. A regime that feels secure does not rush political prisoners to the gallows. A regime that is confident in its future does not execute engineers, does not execute students, does not execute workers. These executions reveal not strength, but they represent a deep-seated, paralyzing fear. A fear of another nationwide uprising. Fear of a generation that has already rejected their dictatorship in all its forms. And yet, even facing death, Vahid and his comrades did not bend. They stood defiant, transforming the gallows into a platform of resistance. Haser, Haser, Haser! They represented that resistance in that Haser chant. But you know who else does? Ashraf 3. I have been so fortunate to have been on this journey in Ashraf 1, Ashraf 2, Ashraf 3. And I will tell you why they're so inspiring. They're inspiring because they show all Iranians what is possible with freedom, what is possible with democracy. We don't have to be worried about whether the people of Iran are ready to organize, are ready to build a new country. We have seen it in the people of Ashraf over and over and over again. They stand as a model for the rest of Iran as to what is possible when freedom comes. And inside Iran, we see that same spirit daily. Resistance units, young women and men across every province are keeping the flames of defiance alive. Just last week, these units conducted a series of coordinated operations in 15 cities, targeting the IRGC headquarters and Basij bases all across Iran. These brave Iranians are not abstract symbols. They're real human beings, risking everything to dismantle the instruments of repression. They tear down the portraits of dictators and spread hope where the regime spreads despair. Let's give so much credit to those resistance units across Iran. And it's good to mention that they are but the children and grandchildren of countless martyrs that have died year after year since the mullahs came to power. Think about the brutal crackdowns we saw and witnessed them most recently in the most recent uprisings. But these uprisings are but a continuation of the uprisings we've seen over the last 60 years. We have seen tens and tens of thousands of PMOI-MEK members murdered for no other reason than they want freedom for their country. And at times like this, when it feels as though we are maybe at the doorstep of a new Iran, let's remember all those martyrs who brought us to this moment. Haser, Haser, Haser! So the message of the Iranian people is simple. Iran belongs to the people, not the tyrants. Not to monarchs, not to those who exploit religion to justify oppression. During the uprisings of 2026, millions of Iranians chanted, "Down with the oppressor, be it Shah or be it supreme leader." Let's be absolutely clear. The attempt by the remnants of the monarchy to market themselves as a democratic alternative is a dangerous illusion. This is made even more evident by the sight of Pahlavi supporters wearing T-shirts. Can you imagine this? Jackets emblazoned with the insignia of the Shah's dreaded secret police, the Savak. Can you imagine? The baby Shah is out there, and his supporters are wearing the symbol of their torture chambers. Their torture chambers. How in the world can we say we condemn the IRGC, we condemn the mullahs, but then we ignore history of the Shah? We ignore the history of the Savak, secret police who was out there murdering their fellow Iranians before. And that is why the PMOIMEK is so legitimate and so credible, because Madam Rajavi and all of her friends and followers have been fighting this battle for freedom way before the mullahs even took over. Because their mission is really about freedom. It's not about taking power. And they need to be given credit for the fact that their 10-point plan under Madam Rajavi is about democracy and the ballot box, not about bullets. It really is a sign of the kind of future that all free people around the world should want for Iran. They should want free elections. They should want the people being in charge, not the mullahs, not the secret police, not the Shah, not the monarchy, not the dictators, but the people. But the people. They want separation of church and state, religion being used as a tool of oppression through these mullahs, through the Islamic fascism. This isn't Islam, it's fascism. And to have gender equality, and who better to help usher in a new day for Iran than a woman of the might and power of Madam Rajavi. And we should want not only an independent judiciary, because this current judiciary makes a mockery of the word judiciary. They rush people to the gallows and to the torture chambers. We want an independent judicial system. And we want a non-nuclear Iran that is not spending all of its people's money on more weapons, but spends its money making sure the people of Iran have enough clean drinking water. How about that, mullahs? How about that? How about take care of your people? How about for once you worry about your own people and their economic livelihood, their ability to live free lives, their ability to educate their children without the fear that those children are going to be swept up by the IRGC and brought to torture chambers and hung and shot and murdered. What are we thinking about? This regime not only is acknowledged to be the world leader in state-sponsored terrorism, which means it's a threat to every single freedom-loving country in the world, but most importantly to the people of Iran, and what should be important to all of us as human beings, is they are the largest and most prolific state that takes the lives of their own people by being the #1 country in the world for executions of their own people. Imagine how it is that this fight for your freedom is not only about liberating the world from the threat of a tyrannical regime that terrorizes the world through all the state-sponsored terrorism. It's about liberation for the people of Iran, because they are the truest victims of the terror of the mullahs and their IRGC. So we have seen the names of those around here who have given up their lives. But I want to say to you, thank you for making sure their names, their faces, and their families are never forgotten. Because those that pulled the trigger, those that hung them, those that tortured them will never be remembered. Instead, it will be these brave martyrs who brought about the day where people could live in freedom, freedom from the fear of a government that doesn't respect human rights. It'll be those martyrs that will be celebrated in a new Iran led by democracy, and a democracy that will be made possible because of the resistance and because of the National Council on the Resistance of Iran. That has been an organization that has done a masterful job at pulling together all different types of communities who want to see a new Iran. And to their credit, Madam Rajavi has been masterful in organizing a new political movement. And those of us in our country, in the United States, and those in Iran should be so grateful that there is a woman and an organization that is ready to usher in a new future for Iran. And you cannot get someone who more represents what that future should look like. Yes, she has suffered, her family has suffered under dictatorship, under the Shah, under the mullahs. But she is a kind and gentle person who cares with all her heart about making sure that democracy, love, compassion, and tolerance are the order of the day for the future. You know, over 60 years ago, when my uncle was president of the United States, he went to Berlin because during that time, Berlin was the place where freedom was being tested. And John F. Kennedy uttered some of the most famous words of his whole presidency when he said, "Ich bin ein Berliner." And what did he say? He said in German, "I am a Berliner too." And people said, "But no, you're John Kennedy, you're in the United States." But he didn't say that. He said the cause of freedom is bigger than any one of us. It's a human cause that unites people all around the world. I may be Irish in my heritage, but I'm a human being, and I am so grateful that I've grown up in a free country where my children do not have to be kidnapped by my government and tortured and shot and hung. The people of Iran demand nothing more than what every American takes for granted. And we as Americans ought to stand by the cause of freedom, because this year the 250th anniversary of our founding, we should commit ourselves to the principles of democracy, not just here in the United States, but this is a movement that's bigger than any one country. This is a movement about human dignity, and this is the movement that's been unified thanks to the unwavering leadership of Madam Maryam Rajavi. Give a great hand to our friend and the leader of the national resistance, Madam Maryam Rajavi. Thank you. Maryam, thank you so much for your leadership over these many years.
شخصیت‌های محترم، دوستان گرامی، به همه شما درود می‌فرستم. گرد همایی و تظاهرات شما یک پیام قوی و پرقدرت است، هم برای مردم ایران و هم مردم جهان. به مردم ایران میگویید از ایستادگیتان در برابر فاشیسم دینی و از ادامه مبارزه و قیامتان برای سرنگونی این رژیم پلید حمایت میکنیم. و به جهان میگویید در کنار مردم ایران و جایگزین دموکراتیک آنها، یعنی شورای ملی مقاومت، قرار بگیرید، زیرا یگانه طرفی است که کلید مسئله ایران را در دست دارد. هموطنان، امروز آخوندها در موقعیتی گرفتار شده اند که نمیتوانند به شرایط پیش از قیام و کشتار ماه دی برگردند، نه راهی به پیش دارند. این است که جنگ خود با مردم ایران را شدت بخشیدند و با دستگیری های دامنه‌دار، با قطع طولانی مدت اینترنت، با بازرسی های خیابانی و به خصوص با استراتژی تنابدار شرایط جنگی را به فرصتی برای تصفیه خونین زندانها تبدیل کردند. 8 مجاهد خلق و 17 شورشگر را به دار آویختند، اما در جلوگیری از قیامی که در راه است شکست می‌خورند. آنها نمی‌توانند این رژیم در حال مرگ را حفظ کنند. آنها از تهاجم 250 رزمنده مجاهد به مقر خامنه‌ای 5 روز پیش از جنگ 40 روزه همچنان در وحشت هستند، زیرا خوب می‌دانند که این تهاجم نسل تازه‌ای را به سوی مقاومت و نبرد و به سوی ارتش آزادی سوق داده است، به خصوص که به رغم شرایط جنگی و با این همه سرکوب عملیات کانون‌های شورشی هر روز جریان دارد. آنها با اعدام مجاهدین و شورشگران می‌خواهند جلوی همین نسل را بگیرند، اما کور خواندند. مجاهد قهرمان وحید بنی عامریان به ولی فقیه رژیم گفت: یقین کنید که اگر من و امثال من را اعدام کنی تکثیر می‌شویم. حتی اگر جنازه های ما را مخفی کنی، یقین کن که رژیمت از سرنگونی راه فراری نخواهد داشت. درود بر این مجاهد قهرمان و یارانش.
درود 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 درود
مجاهدان سربدار، این شورشگران سربدار پیشاهنگان راه پیروزی هستند. فداکاری آنها خلقی را زنده می کند. دیدگاه سیاسیشان که نفی شاه و شیخ است، راه سرقت قیام و انقلاب را می بندند و عمل مبارزاتی آنها که سپاه پاسداران را نشان رفته است، به تشنگان آزادی راه نشان می دهد. همان راه یگانه آزادی که مسعود گفت: ارتش آزادی تنها راه برای آزادی.
با ارتش آزادی ایرانی نو میسازی.
در آستانه اعدام سرود یک یگان 6 نفره مجاهدین از قلب قتلگاهشان در قزلحصار به گوش جهان رسید. همون که خواندند منم طوفان به ترس بید لرزیده، هم آوردت حریفی سخت ورزیده. منم ایمان منم عصیان، پر از باور که می جنگم که می مانم تواناتر.
از خون سرخ یاران خیزد قیام و فتوان.
این سرود کلام پرقدرت مردم ایران است که میگویند بعد از کشتار هزاران جوان و نوجوان در قیام دی ماه و بعد از آن فاجعه سیاه کیسه های پرخون ناامید نشده اند، از پا نیفتاده اند، میدان را ترک نکرده اند، بلکه به پا خواسته اند.
شورشی جنگاور حاضر تا آخر.
با همه مقاومت و ایستادگیش نمایانگر واحدهای ارتش آزادی بخش است که در شهرهای ایران آماده قیام و نبرد هستند. این یگان 10 بار توطئه جلادان قضایی را برای تحمیل ندامت و عقب نشینی شکست داد. راستی این استواری و استحکام را از کجا آوردند؟ آنها تجلی ایستادگی نیروی رزمنده و سازمان یافته روی زمین هستند. نمونه رزماورانی که همه هستی و همه انرژی ها و عواطف خود را در کفه مبارزه برای آزادی مردمشان گذاشتند. از این روست که شکست ناپذیرند، از این روست که آخوندها از این حریف سخت ورزیده این چنین به خود میلرزند. هموطنان، مبارزه مردم ایران با استبداد دینی از 2 طرف آماج خنجر و خیانت است. یک طرف آنهایی که سالهای سال است در پی مماشات و حفظ این رژیم هستند و طرف دیگر بازماندگان دیکتاتوری شاه که بیشترین امدادها را به همین رژیم رساندند. به قیام دی ماه بنگرید. در حالی که خامنه‌ای را در گرداب خون فرو می برد، بازمانده دیکتاتوری شاه نیز بزرگترین ضربه سیاسی را به آن وارد کرد. یک جماعت بی پشتوانه و بیریشه که آشکارا وعده سرکوب ملیت‌های ستم دیده را می‌دهند. به خواست‌های حق طلبانه هموطنان کرد و بلوچ و ترکمن و عرب برچسب تجزیه طلبی می‌زنند و حاکمیت یک استبداد افسار گسیخته و برقراری حکومت نظامی در شهرهای ایران را برنامه خود اعلام کردند. آنها به دنبال برپایی ساواک مخوف شاه هستند که خمینی وزارت اطلاعات بدنام خود را بر بنیاد آن تشکیل داد. راستی که به قول نمایندگان مجلس عوام انگلستان گرگی در لباس میش هستند. اما هر کس که فکر می کند از جنایت‌های شیخ می تواند تاج و تختی برای خود بسازد سخت در اشتباه است. ایران نه تحت حاکمیت دیکتاتوری دینی میماند و نه به حاکمیت دیکتاتوری سلطنتی برمیگردد. راه ایران راه آزادی است، راه آینده است. راه ایران راه انقلاب دموکراتیک مردم ایران است.
مرگ بر ستمگر چه شاه باشه چه رفت.
یاران مقاومت، ما در انتظار این نیستیم که این رژیم به طور خود به خودی فرو بپاشد یا دیگران آن را تغییر بدهند. این انتظارها به کلی موهوم است. تغییر بزرگ در ایران و سرنگونی رژیم البته که قطعی است و به دست مردم ایران و قیام و ارتش آزادی بخش ملی محقق می شود. در جنگی که اکنون اکثر کشورهای منطقه را فرا گرفته، صلح پایدار به دست نمی آید مگر با سرنگونی دیکتاتوری تروریستی و جنگ افروز ولایت فقیه. مقاومت ایران برای تحقق این مأموریت تاریخی چنان که همواره اعلام کرده همه نیروهایی را که خواستار سرنگونی تمامیت این رژیم هستند و از یک جمهوری دموکراتیک مبتنی بر جدایی دین و دولت دفاع می کنند به همبستگی فرا می خوانند. ما جامعه جهانی را فرا می خوانیم که در این مبارزه در کنار مردم ایران قرار بگیرند و مقاومت مردم ایران برای سرنگونی این رژیم را به رسمیت بشناسند. عوامل و مأموران رژیم را از خاک خود اخراج کنند. امکانات فنی لازم برای دسترسی مردم ایران به اینترنت آزاد را فراهم سازند و سردمداران رژیم را به خاطر جنایت علیه بشریت و نسل کشی تحت تعقیب قرار دهند. ما تاکید داریم که توقف اعدام ها در ایران به عنوان خواست تمام مردم ایران باید در هر توافق بین المللی گنجانده شود. مردم ما به سوی آینده گام برمی‌دارند که با صندوق رأی تعریف می شود. با تکثرگرایی، خودمختاری ملیت‌ها، مشارکت برابر زنان در رهبری جامعه و جدای دین از دولت. ما برخواسته ایم برای حق حاکمیت جمهور مردم ایران. ما برخواسته ایم برای کرامت و آزادی مردممان و این مبارزه بعد از 120 سال رنج و خون جگر بیش از همیشه به پیروزی نزدیک است. سلام بر مردم ایران، سلام بر کانونهای شورشی، سلام بر آزادی و ارتش آزادی.
دموکراسی آزادی با مریم رجبی. دموکراسی آزادی با مریم رجبی. دموکراسی آزادی با مریم رجبی. دموکراسی آزادی با مریم رجبی.
We are now honored to welcome Ambassador Carla Sands, former U.S. Ambassador to Denmark and a leading advocate for human rights and transatlantic cooperation. Ambassador Sands brings a unique blend of diplomatic experience and moral clarity to the discussion of Iran's future and the global responsibility to support its people. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Carla Sands.
Thank you, Patriots, for that warm welcome. Wow. Good morning, Iran in America. It's an honor to stand with you once again while the regime is back on its heels. So, distinguished guests, dear friends of a free Iran, and courageous members of the Iranian resistance, every time I come to gatherings like this one, I'm reminded of the struggle for freedom in Iran, and it's not an abstract political debate. It is a human story. It's a story written with sacrifice, resilience, courage, and extraordinary moral clarity. And all throughout history, this movement and that story has had faces and names. A few days ago, we marked the 40th day commemorating the fall of two courageous MEK members, Commander Vahid Bani Amarian, a 34-year-old electrical engineer, and Abul Hassan Montazer, a 67-year-old architectural engineer and a veteran political prisoner who also endured imprisonment under the Shah's dictatorship before ultimately giving his life in the struggle against the mullah's tyranny. I salute them. And I salute their comrades in arms, a total of 8 of them that stood firm till the end and have fallen for freedom in the span of 2 weeks. The regime charged these MEK heroes with enmity against God, rebellion, targeting security centers, and trying to obtain weapons. But in reality, their true offense was courage. Their true offense was refusing to bow. And like millions across the world, I was profoundly moved and deeply proud when I saw the video clip of the 6 MEK heroes standing shoulder to shoulder in the prison yard of Ghazal Hasar before being taken to execution, steadfast, proud, fearless, and knowing that death awaited them. They met their fate not with despair, but with defiance, singing together, "Resistance battalions, arise." Think about the moral force required for human beings to knowingly move toward execution while singing an anthem of resistance and hope. And the regime believed it was sending a message of fear, but instead these heroes sang a message of immortality. And I salute the 15 more young and defiant protesters executed for their roles in the 2026 uprising. These young souls whose only crime was demanding freedom. And I salute the other freedom lovers who were killed by the regime because they wanted freedom, including a number of Iranian Kurdish and Baluchi nationals recently murdered by the regime. Freedom has never been granted willingly by tyrants. It has always required the sacrifice from men and women prepared to stand against oppression, regardless of the cost. And that spirit lives today in Iran. And nowhere is it more organized, more disciplined, or more persistent than within the National Council of Resistance of Iran, led by the NCRI and the MEK. For years, the policy of appeasement tried to erase this reality. One of the central objectives of the appeasement lobby has been to marginalize, demonize, and create taboo about the organized resistance, especially the MEK and Mrs. Maryam Rajavi. Why? Because the existence of a democratic alternative destroys the false narrative that the world only has two choices, the mullahs or chaos. The Iranian resistance has shattered this lie. And let's be honest, what exists here is historically unique. Where else do we see a resistance movement with a clear democratic platform, a structured coalition, a commitment to free elections, separation of religion and state, gender equality, minority rights, and a non-nuclear Iran? Where else do we see women leading at every level of the movement? And where else do we see an organized network inside the country capable of mobilizing resistance under conditions of brutal repression? And this movement didn't appear overnight. It survived massacres. It survived execution. It has survived terrorism. It survived demonization campaigns spanning decades. And today it stands stronger, more experienced, and more credible than ever before. And one reason for that strength is the younger generation. I've seen these young members of the resistance myself in Europe, on stages like this one, speaking with intelligence, confidence, and conviction. They're dynamic, educated, and fearless. But more importantly, we see this new generation throughout Iran. We see them in the uprisings. We see them in the prisons. We see them in the resistance units. And despite everything the regime has done, despite the censorship, propaganda, intimidations, executions, fear, the new generation continues to rise. And that terrifies the regime. Because these young people are not buying the regime's lies. They're not surrendering to despair. They are not falling for another dangerous illusion either, the illusion that restoring dictatorship under another name. In recent years, supporters of Reza Pahlavi, the self-styled Shah, or heir of the Shah, or as many Iranians now like to call him, the Clown Prince, have increasingly revealed the true nature of their movement. And this is scary. Across European cities, including the UK and in Germany, Pahlavi supporters openly glorify SAVAK, the Shah's notorious secret police. And that was created to torture intellectuals, spread lies, and frighten society. We now see individuals marching with large flags bearing the SAVAK emblems, wearing shirts and jackets displaying the insignia of an organization associated with torture chambers, executions, ripped fingernails, and the brutal repression of political dissidents. Other supporters of Reza Pahlavi have gone even further, producing rap songs openly promoting SAVAK and calling for the murder of MEK members. Let's be absolutely clear. It's not freedom of expression. It's vile incitement to violence. It is the glorification of torture and even murder. And in democratic societies, openly advocating for violence against political opponents is not only morally despicable, but it also could constitute a prosecutable criminal offense. And what became of the so-called 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 recruits, the so-called immortal guards? We were told by Pahlavi they would rise up and defend the defenseless protesters during the nationwide uprising in January 2026. Too many have instead emerged as online mobs and street-level hooligans across Europe, threatening, intimidating, and harassing Iranians who reject both the ruling theocracy and the remnants of the Shah's dictatorship. The Iranian people deserve a better choice between two forms of tyranny. And we must also remember an essential historic truth. The crimes of the Shah's regime helped to create the conditions that enabled Khomeini to hijack the 1979 revolution. And by imprisoning, torturing, or executing democratic activists and crushing organizations like the MEK, the Shah decimated Iran's democratic opposition. And when the revolution came, and many of the democratic forces capable of resisting clerical extremism had already been weakened or destroyed. And that lesson matters today. The future of Iran must belong neither to the turban nor the crown. It must belong to the Iranian people. The United States must treat the Iranian resistance as an irreplaceable ally and recognize the right of the Iranian people to resist tyranny. America and the Western world should recognize the legitimacy of the resistance units confronting the IRGC and the machinery of repression. America should end the long-time policies that have resulted from decades of the policy of appeasement, which stigmatized the democratic opposition while the regime continues executions, hostage-taking, terrorism, and nuclear blackmail. America must hold the regime accountable for crimes against humanity, including the massacre of political prisoners, the current wave of executions of these bright, beautiful young lives. And America should engage seriously with the NCRI as a democratic alternative, because the Iranian people deserve the right to choose their future freely. as Mrs. Rajavi has repeatedly emphasized, and to hold free and fair elections within 6 months after the fall of the regime. Now, next month, on Saturday, June 20th, as many as 100,000 people are expected to rally in Paris in support of Maryam Rajavi and her platform for a future Iran. So everything the mullahs have been doing is clearly backfiring, and the momentum has shifted in favor of this movement. And let me conclude with this. No dictator is permanent. Not the Third Reich of Hitler, not the fascism of Mussolini, not the Soviet Union, not apartheid, not the Berlin Wall, and not the Shah, and not this regime of theocracy. The courage of Iran's defiant prisoners, its rebellious youth, its resistance units, its organized democratic opposition, and most important of all, the leadership of Mrs. Rajavi has already changed the course of history. And as an American, I cannot help but think of the words that Thomas Jefferson famously said: "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure." I truly believe that the day will come when Iran is a free, democratic, secular republic and at peace with its people and the world, and the sooner the better. And when that day comes, history will remember those who stood on the side of freedom. Thank you.
دموکراسی بگو تا راه فردا باز شه، تا قفس ها بشکنه هنگامه پرواز شه. از دموکراسی بگو تا میهنت آزاد شه، تا که فریادت نوید مرگ استبداد شه. هم پیمان با خون جوشان یاران می جنگیم میمانیم تا پایان، همچون خورشیدی نور افشان و زیبا آزادی میتابد بر ایران. از دموکراسی بگو ای هموطن بر پا خیز، کوچه ها شد از خروش و خشم ما لبریز. هم صدا شد تا گلستان چهره این خاک شه، از وجود هر ستمگر سرزمینت پاک شه. هم پیمان با خون جوشان یاران می جنگیم میمانیم تا پایان، همچون خورشیدی نور افشان و زیبا آزادی میتابد بر ایران. هم پیمان با خون جوشان یاران می جنگیم میمانیم تا پایان، همچون خورشیدی نور افشان و زیبا آزادی میتابد بر ایران.
Testing? Okay. Next, we welcome Mr. Hejar Berenji, representative in the United States of the Kurdish Democratic Party. His voice reminds us that Iran's struggle for freedom belongs to all its peoples. Kurdish, Lor, Azeri, Persian, Baluch, Turkmen, Arab, and many more. united in one vision of democracy and equality. Please welcome Hejar Berenji.
Friends, compatriots, Kurds, Iranians, and all voices of freedom gathered here in Washington, D.C. Today, we are here for a simple reason. The Islamic Republic is bombing the Kurdish people and they need to stop it. It's executing its own people of Iran, and it's sponsoring terror in the whole region in the Middle East and destabilizing the whole world. It's using diplomacy to buy time, which we want the authorities of this country to understand that and don't play their game. And it is using fear to stay alive by bombing, by sending its drones. So our message today must be clear. This regime cannot be referred. This regime cannot be moderated. This regime cannot be trusted. The only solution is toppling the Islamic Republic of Iran. But we are not only here to say what we are against. We are here to say what we stand for, all of us. We stand for a free Iran, for a democratic Iran, for a secular Iran, for a federal Iran, an Iran where no nation is denied, no woman is silenced, no prisoner is forgotten, and no dictator returns under any name. No dictatorship with turban, no dictatorship with crown, no dictatorship with uniform, no dictatorship with a new slogan and an old mentality. Iran has suffered enough from rulers who believe the country belongs to them. Iran belongs to its people. And that means all its people. Kurds, Persians, Baluchis, Arabs, Azeri Turks, Turkmens, Lurs, Gilaks, Christians, Baha'is, Sunnis, Shias, Jews, Zoroastrians, women, worker, students, prisoners, and families of martyrs. A future Iran. A future Iran. That's all we stand for. A future Iran cannot be built by one group alone. It must be built by its own, all people with dignity, equality, recognition. Let me say that clearly. The Kurdish people are not a threat to Iran. The Kurdish people are a chance for Iran's future. Kurdistan is not a problem. Kurdistan is part of the future Iran and part of the solution. For more than 7 decades, the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan has stood for democracy, secularism, equality between women and men, social justice, and the national rights of Kurdish people. Our position is not revenge. Our position is not chaos. Our position is political clarity. A centralized dictatorship created this disaster that we have today. Another centralized dictatorship will not save Iran. The future must be democratic, must be federal, and the future must recognize the rights of the Kurds and all the marginalized nations of Iran. Because forced unity is not a unity. Silence is not a unity. Fear is not a unity. Real unity begins with recognition. Real unity begins with justice. Real unity begins when every people, every single one in Iran could say, I am seen, I am respected, I am free. Today, we stand with the families of our all political prisoners. We say to every mother waiting outside a prison gate, your pain is not invisible. We say to every prisoner facing execution, your name is not forgotten. We say to every young woman who stood against the forced submission, your courage changed history. We say to every person inside Iran who cannot be here today with us because speaking the truth in Iran will cause their life. We say, we are your voice. And to all democratic opposition forces gathered here, including the organizers of this rally, former political prisoners, women's rights activists, resistance movements, Republicans, Kurds, and all the freedom-seeking Iranians. We may come from different histories, we may carry different wounds, but we today stand against the same enemy. And we must stand on the same red line. No Islamic Republic, no to executions, no to appeasement, no to dictatorship in any form, no denying the rights of Iran's nations. The regime wants to divide us. It wants the Kurds isolated. It wants the Baluch silenced. It wants the women afraid. And it wants opposition forces suspicious of each other. We reject that. Our strength is not imported. Our legitimacy is not borrowed. And our struggle does not depend on foreign weapons, foreign promises, or secret deals. Our strength comes from our people, from organizations, from sacrifice, from the mountains of Kurdistan, from our brave Peshmergas, from the streets of Iran, from the members who refuse to forget, from the prisoners who refuse to surrender. So our message to Washington is direct. Do not appease Tehran. Do not reward executioners. Do not ignore Kurdish question. Do not ignore marginalized nations of Iran. Do not negotiate over the heads of people of Iran. Do not separate human rights from security. A regime that executes prisoners at home and sponsors terror abroad is not a partner for peace. This is an obstacle to peace. Our message to the terror-sponsoring regime in Tehran is stronger. Your executions will not save you. Your drones will not silence Kurdistan. Your prisons will not break the people. Your propaganda will not divide us forever. From the mountains of Kurdistan to Tehran, from Baluchistan to Ahvaz, from Evin prison to streets of Washington, D.C., our message is one: topple the terror-sponsoring regime of Islamic Republic. Stop the executions, free political prisoners, reject every dictatorship, build a democratic, secular, federal Iran. Kurdistan will not be silent. Kurdistan will not be forgotten. Kurdistan will help shape the future. Jin, Jian, Azadi, woman, life, freedom. Biji Kurd, Biji Kurdistan, Long live the Kurdish people. Long live the unity of all democratic forces. Long live a free, democratic, secular, and federal Iran. Thank you very much.
از کردستان تا تهران جانم فدای ایران. از کردستان تا تهران جانم فدای ایران. از کردستان تا تهران جانم فدای ایران. از کردستان تا تهران جانم فدای ایران.
دوستان عزیز، شعارهایی رو فارسی و کردی به شما تقدیم میکنم که با من هماهنگ کنید. کردستان هوشیاره، از دیکتاتور بیزاره.
کردستان هوشیاره، از دیکتاتور بیزاره. کردستان هوشیاره، از دیکتاتور بیزاره.
حتی کرد بمینه کردستانیش دمینه. حتی کردیش بمینه کردستانیش دمینه. کردستان گورستانی فاشیستان.
کردستان گورستان فاشیستان.
کردستان گورستان فاشیستان. بجی آزادی گلن برزگاری نیشتمان. بجی آزادی گلن برزگاری نیشتمان. آزادی حق مسلم ماست. آزادی حق مسلم ماست. ملتی پولشیاره پول شاه و شیخ بیزاره. بیگای آزادی ایران کردستان وری بزه آخون خلقوت لرزه.
Turn to the voice of Iran's future, the youth delegation. These young speakers represent the courage and clarity of a generation that rejects dictatorship in all forms. From Houston, Texas, Kimia Arya, a biology student at the University of Houston, and from Toronto, Canada, Ali Ziai, former Canadian Wushu champion, New York University graduate in political science and holistic wellness coach. They will be accompanied by other youth from across America. Together, they embody the spirit of Iran's youth, fearless, hopeful, and determined to build a democratic republic. Please welcome our speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Kimia Arya, and I'm a proud Iranian part of the MEK. I want to begin by saying that the words I share today are not mine alone, but of all of us standing up here. I am here because I am standing in solidarity with the courageous youth of Iran, especially the young women and girls who rose up during the January 2026 protests, when Iranian authorities carried out brutal massacres against protesters. I find myself here in the U.S. with the privilege to speak about their stories, as they right now face the violence of the IRGC. They stand with courage, raise their voices, and fight with the hope of a different future. The Iranian youth are at the forefront, tearing apart the walls of tyranny. And at the heart of this movement are women. For decades, women in the Iranian resistance have refused to accept the culture of submission imposed first by the Shah's dictatorship and later by the ruling mullahs. Under the leadership of Maryam Rajavi, thousands of young Iranian women have been encouraged to believe in themselves as leaders of change. They've challenged misogyny, they've challenged dictatorship, and they have demonstrated the pivotal role women play standing at the front lines in the struggle for freedom. We honor the young women of the resistance units and the MEK who have sacrificed their lives organizing protests, exposing regime crimes, and inspiring hope among a new generation of Iranians. You see, the regime fears these women because they shatter the foundation upon which tyranny survives: silence, obedience, and fear. And every execution carried out by this regime reveals not strength, but weakness. A government that executes young activists for speaking out, organizing students, or resisting oppression is a government that is terrified of its own people. The Iranian youth are sending a clear message to the world. They do not want to return to dictatorship in any form, not the dictatorship of the supreme leader, and not the dictatorship of the Shah. They want a democratic republic based on freedom, equality, and the sovereignty of the people. They remember the suffering their parents and grandparents endured under Savak prisons, torture chambers, and political repression. The future they demand is not backward, it is forward. So, to the young people inside Iran, you are not alone. Your courage is shaking the foundations of tyranny and inspiring millions around the world. The Iranian youth have already chosen their future. They reject the rule of the turban and the crown alike. They want freedom, democracy, and a republic built by the people. They look directly into the face of oppression, batons, bullets, torture, death, and still they continue to fight. No force, no prison, no execution, no dictatorship can stop a generation that has lost its fear. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Ali. I grew up in Iran, and from a very young age, I realized the dangers of activism against the Iranian government. My father had been a political prisoner, and from a young age, I realized that even a mention of People's Mujahideen of Iran could land you in prison and even get you executed. And that's why I'm here today, to admire the resistance units of the MEK who rose during the January 2026 uprising. They saw injustice and they stood up against it, and they paid the ultimate price for it. It is evident that despite all the dangers, courage still lives in Iran. And a generation has risen that refuses to kneel before a dictatorship. They are willing to pay their only prized possession, which is their life, to achieve this goal. And as for the Iranian government, these executions are signs of a desperate regime that is terrified of its own people. Every execution is a confession that the mullahs have lost the control of the nation's soul. And with every life they take, thousands more will rise. Let us make a promise to our fallen brothers and sisters, that we will follow their path. Our generation, both inside and outside Iran, will not stop until we reach the freedom that more than 120,000 souls paid the ultimate price for. And to the opportunists lurking in the shadows to take advantage of all these lost lives, We will not allow the blood of our martyrs to be exploited to revive any tyranny, especially those of the past. We reject all forms of dictatorship, whether theocracy or monarchy. The youth of Iran are fighting for a free and democratic republic, and we will not settle for any less. And to the international community, by this point, it should be clear that real change cannot be imported or gifted by foreign powers. It must come from an organized force inside Iran, led by those who have sacrificed, resisted, and built networks on the ground despite decades of repression. This is why we encourage the entire international community to recognize Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan. Her plan for a future Iran reflects the most advanced, yet most significant values. That is, the people's vote as the final authority, equality between women and men, and freedom of religion. So we urge the international community to support this plan because it is the only unifying vision for Iran's democratic future. And just a little note in Farsi. من امروز مجددا پیام برادر مسعود شنیدم که 40 سال قبل به ما گفت هزاران بار شما رو شکنجه کردن و شلاق زدن، ولی شما محکم و استوار ایستاده این و مجاهد خلقین. میخواستم بگم حاصل این سالیان رنجا و ایستادگی رو الان کل مردم ایران در همین جوانان مجاهد و شورشی میبینن که اینطوری هر کدومشون یک مسئول اول سازمان مجاهدینن. چه محصولی از این مهمتر؟ پیام به جان جانان ایستاده ایم تا پایان. ایستاده ایم تا پایان. پیام به جان جانان ایستاده ایم تا پایان. پیام به جان جانان ایستاده ایم تا پایان. Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
It is now my honor to introduce General Wesley Clark, a four-star general who served as commander of the U.S. Southern Command and the Supreme Allied Commander Europe. General Clark has dedicated his life to defending freedom and justice. His leadership and insight remind us that the struggle for liberty is universal. General Clark also ran for president in 2004 as the Democratic Party candidate. Please welcome General Wesley Clark.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. But it's a beautiful day in Washington, and you're here, and you make it even more beautiful. Thank you. I can't tell you how good it is to see you here with the green and white and red flags of Iran, of your freedom, your yellow hats, and what you stand for with the National Council for Resistance of Iran, the MEC. And I know that there are tens of thousands of people in Europe, around the world, and maybe hundreds of thousands, I hope millions, in Iran, who are watching this, who will see this, and will be strengthened by your presence here today. So thank you for being here. You know, for America, this is the year 250 since we declared our independence from Britain. And so it's a very special year for us. It's a year when Americans from all persuasions came together and said, no more tyranny. We want freedom, self-determination, and ultimately democracy. Unfortunately, that's not what you have today in Iran. I look at Iran today, and I've watched for a long time. I was at NATO headquarters with General Alexander Haig in 1978-79 when the Shah was overthrown, when we expected democracy to emerge in Iran, and instead we got Ayatollah Khomeini. And we know everything that's happened since then. But Iran is a great nation, it's a great people, an historic civilization held captive by a small band of zealots who are ruthless, cruel, and determined to loot the oil wealth of Iran for their own purposes. You, in the MEK, led by Mrs. Rajavi, are the hope to change that, and you must do so. The freedoms we take for granted in the United States, they're not there in Iran. Instead, you're suffering under a regime that believes in mass incarceration, shooting people in the streets, arrest, torture, hanging, killing some of the best young people in the country. It's a desperate regime. It's a regime that's crumbling under fear, and you in the MEK must put it to rest. Especially despicable is the regime's execution of young people. It can't be permitted. It must be condemned in the United States and around the world by all people and all governments. And I certainly condemn it. These young people only sought what was guaranteed to them by the United Nations, the Declaration of Human Rights. They just wanted an opportunity to be who they are. They wanted an opportunity to grow, to develop, to have freedom, to travel, to express their opinions, to choose their persuasion, their friends, to come out in public, in safety, to raise families, to be like everybody else. And it was denied by this terrible regime. It must be condemned. Now we have to look at what's happening in the region today, and we have to go to the root cause. What's the root cause? The root cause is a band of zealots who've been living off the oil wealth of the Iranian people to enrich themselves, to build bunkers, missile cities, and try to get nuclear weapons, to set up a system of terror that kills innocent people, to try to overrun and take over neighboring governments, to interfere with global commerce, and ultimately to become the domineering power in the region and destroy all others. That's the root cause. And I'm here today because I believe in the future of Iran as a great nation. And I believe that you, the National Council for Resistance of Iran, the MEK and Mrs. Rajavi can change what's happening in the region and save us from what is emerging as a global catastrophe. January 26 showed that the people of Iran long for change. They're out in the streets. They were peacefully protesting. That's what people expect to have the right to do. But this regime in Iran said no. It gunned them down. More than 30,000, we know, were shot in the streets. Countless hundreds, maybe thousands of others were arrested. We can't have that. And so we now understand, and I think the people of Iran understand, peaceful protest will not bring change. Now, the United States is concerned about the nuclear power of these zealots, and so a bombing campaign was undertaken, and a lot of military equipment was destroyed. I hope the people of Iran understand this was not directed against you. It was not directed against the people of Iran. It was directed against the regime in power in Tehran that is holding the people of Iran hostage. We are on the side of the people of Iran. It's really that simple. But here's the truth. No airplanes flying at 35,000 feet, no battleships and aircraft carriers off the coast, no bunker-busting bombs, none of that is sufficient. It's all the periphery. The heart of the problem, the root of the problem, is in the regime itself. And that can only be changed by the people of Iran. So now it's time. The die's been cast. We know the Iranian people want new government. You know that the people of the world are supporting you. We're supporting you the only way we can, which is trying to take out the military power that's holding you hostage. But ultimately, it's up to the people of Iran, and you know that peaceful protests won't be enough. You know you're going to have armed resistance. And people say, well, where's it going to come from? Is it going to come from the CIA? Absolutely not. Is it going to come from the British, the French, the Germans? No, it's going to come from Iran itself. From the people of Iran who've had enough. They've said it's enough. It's 47 years. No more. No more repression. No more corruption. No more stealing the wealth of oil from the people of Iran. No more fomenting terrorism and conflict in the region. Enough is enough. And so the resistance is forming. It's forming under the leadership of the MEK and the NCRI. It's forming under the leadership of Ms. Rajavi. It's organized in every province and every city. It represents every ethnic group and sect. And it stands for the right program at the right time. Mr. Rajavi's 10-point program that calls for a secular democracy, democratic elections, and all of the rights that people everywhere are entitled to by the United Nations. We Americans look on what's happening in Iran with great concern, but we also look on this organization with awe, with admiration, with incredible admiration for your courage, your determination, your resilience, the terrible sacrifices that so many have been called to make you're doing it. In the United States, our quest for freedom began in 1776. It finally ended on the battlefield in 1781, and it took another 2 years to be accepted in a treaty. And then it took us another 5 years to be able to get a constitution. 12 years. The MEC has been resisting the regime for 47 years. It's endured spies, penetrations, attacks, name-calling, being branded a terrorist organization, which it isn't. It's endured incredible difficulties, and yet you're still here. You are what the regime fears most. You are what the regime can't deal with. They can build missile cities deep underground. They can hide the communications with their terrorist networks, fine. But what they can't hide from is the will, the determination, the courage, and the sincere anger of the Iranian people. It's time for a change in Tehran. You must lead it. We salute you. We praise you. We admire you. Thank you.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
We will now turn to a very special message from Mayor Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. A longtime supporter of the Iranian people's struggle for freedom, for years he has stood with the Iranian resistance and condemned the regime's executions and spoken for a democratic, secular Republic of Iran. Let us hear his message.
Hello to my friends of freedom and democracy, my friends of America, and my friends of a free Iranian Republic based on the same principles as our Bill of Rights as are enunciated brilliantly in the MEK, Madame Rajavi 10 points that are now 3 decades old. You need that to have a guidepost for where we're going. There is no doubt now that it's a matter of when, not if. This regime is being destroyed from the outside and from the inside. It's into maybe its 3rd group of people. When a regime can't even present its leader and let us see it or her, we don't know if the so-called monster is alive or dead, whether he has a face or a brain or they are at the end. They would be over if they weren't the insane maniacs and religious fanatics that they've been from the very beginning. And everything they've done indicates the wisdom of President Trump that they can never, ever, ever be a nuclear power. The president that I worked for, Ronald Reagan, used to say that the worst thing that could happen to the world is that some government that had nuclear capacity fell into the hands of not evil people. Of course, that's terrible. But insane, irrational people driven by these unbelievably anti-humane desires. And when we look at those who are nuclear powers, oh my goodness, it's terrible that they're in the hands of Red China, Russia, North Korea, some of the others. And no one is saying anything of great praise for them. except for the fact that we have an essential reliance. They don't want to die. They may be evil, they're not insane. This regime is insane. It's demonstrated that all throughout its 47 years.
Today we are honored to welcome Venezuelan human rights activist, musician, and composer Jonathan Acosta. Through music, Jonathan has used art not only to celebrate culture and identity, but to stand for human dignity, hope, and freedom. Please join me in warmly welcoming Jonathan Acosta and his musical team.
Generación de héroes, generación de patria, libres de conciencia, libres de ignorancia. Es la patria mía, es mi democracia, no han muerto por ella, han sembrado el alma. No han muerto por ella, han sembrado el alma. Caído nada, vivirás por siempre en nuestras miradas. Caído tu sueño valiente, ha sido la fuerza de tu misma gente. Caído nada, despertar de conciencia del que ha puesto nada. Caído, te siento en mi casa, comiendo en la mañana una arepa hecha en libertad. Generación de héroes, generación de patria, libres de conciencia, libres de ignorancia. Es la patria mía, es mi democracia, no han muerto por ella, han sembrado el alma, no han muerto por ella, han sembrado el alma. Generación de héroes, generación de patria, libres de conciencia, libres de ignorancia. Es la patria mía, es mi democracia, no han muerto por ella. Han sembrado el alma. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Jonathan Acosta from Venezuela. And it's a pleasure for me, it's a pleasure for us being here. And it's a pleasure, it's a real honor standing side by side with my brother and sister from Venezuela and from other countries like Bolivia, Uruguay, Puerto Rico, United States, and my brother and sister from Iran. It's a real honor. And let me tell you something. I'm a professional musician. I'm a professional artist. And I'm an attorney too. But I want to tell you that every single people that you can see right now, behind me, every single people, they don't musician, they don't artists, even they right now have the first time to sing any song. They represent many human rights organizations across the country. They came from human rights organizations from Atlanta, Georgia, from Utah, from Chicago, from Miami, from Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, New York, Puerto Rico, Bolivia, Massachusetts. And they stay here to say to all of you, thank you for everything. Thank you for belief in the democracy and liberty. We are right now, we are fighting against the Venezuelan dictatorship. Right now, we have prisoners. And even we have execution in Venezuela. However, right now, today, we want to say to all of you, you can count on me and my music, and you can count my sister and brother from Venezuela, from Hispanoamerica, from South America, from Central America. Your cause is our cause. And we believe in this cause. We believe in God. We believe in democracy, liberty, and stop dictatorship around the world in our country.
Jonathan, for that lovely performance. Thank you very much. Finally, we welcome Bishop Dr. Angel L. Nunez, Senior Pastor of the Bilingual Christian Church of Baltimore for over 32 years and a steadfast friend of the Iranian resistance for more than a decade. Please welcome Bishop Dr. Angel L. Nunez.
Hear the voice of a Hispanic Christian leader today. There is a reality that no one can deny. Millions of Iranians are presently suffering and living in oppression simply because they seek a free Iran. The internet has been cut off, and many have been arrested, and others executed. You, the people of Iran, want a regiment change, and that is what you should have. Understand that no matter how hard they try to silence your voice, you will not be silenced. Iran will be free.
Iran will be free.
The political executions must stop. They are desperate to hold on to power, but sooner than later, a democratic republic will rise up because the voice of the voiceless will be heard across Iran and across the world. We, as Christians and Hispanics, join hands with you in solidarity, for we understand the struggle and the pain of losing everything simply because we wanted to be free. This is not politics. This is not about war. This is about the people, the hurting, broken people that cry themselves to sleep at night. So as I close, sooner or later, mercy will reign over Iran, and she will rise up, and the world will see that there is hope, love, and peace in this beautiful land called Iran.
Regime change in Iran by the people of Iran.
Start our march. Please form the lines on Constitution Avenue and we will march towards Pennsylvania Avenue. لطفاً سریع صفحه ها رو شکل بدین. Police منتظره. Ladies and gentlemen, as a quick note, there will also be a petition going around. People are collecting signatures. Please cooperate. لطفاً سریع صفحه ها رو شکل بدین.